Well, it's Emotional Wellness Month and your mental health matters. Part of that includes checking in on your emotional well-being. Our Kenesha Dees spoke with a local psychotherapist on the importance of managing your emotional wellness.
A pandemic, politics, and protests, topics where emotions have run high and can take a toll. I spoke with Huntsville psychotherapist Moretta Vega on how you can assess and manage your emotions during these difficult times.
So when we say emotional health, wellness, we're talking about the ability to check in with oneself and say, hey, how am I doing?
According to the CDC, more than 11% of adults aged 18 and over have regular feelings of worry, nervousness, or anxiety. Counselor and psychotherapist Moretta Vega for Huntsville Psychotherapy and Counseling Services says relieving those feelings can start with participating in an activity.
We just have to make sure we have that release, that ability to let go, that ability to focus on something that's outside of our norm and outside of our daily responsibilities.
Some of those activities include the gym, cooking, and painting.
So a coping skill, self-care, making sure that we're okay, so that self-awareness, those are three key things that we want to make sure we're doing on an everyday basis.
Vega also encourages therapy for people who may need help to better manage their emotional wellness.
Yes, we have a best friend. Yes, we may have some family members that we talk to, but having that person that's outside of that circle to really disclose information and process feelings and emotions that we may not feel so strong about or confident about would be so beneficial right now.
Vega says services can also be offered through your employer.
EAP is an employee assistance program, and some employers through HR will be able to give you a good 5 or 6 sessions.
Vega says there's also free services in Alabama, and you can start by calling the 211 line. Putting the Valley first, Kenesha Dees, WZDX News.